Let's have both Linda and Ann come and sit here, and maybe I'll just stay here and field questions. This is a chance for you to get to ask Ann and Linda questions. Okay, yes, Cheryl.
Dr. Fernald, I was fascinated by your research on language development, and I was wondering if we in preschool get children at 3 and 4 years of age, how easy is it to teach parents? How effective is it at the age of 3 and 4, if a child 3 and 4? If you start working with parents at 3 and 4, how quickly can you close that gap rather than at 18 months? I don't think this is all.
Is this on?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't mean to say that there's no possible catch up. It's just that the differences do start early, and the richer the experience after that period, the more likely it is that the child is going to progress more rapidly. The emphasis on the amount of talk. Amount of talk is what we call a proxy, which is kind of a stand-in variable, because obviously if you say dog and then you say dog, 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 that's 500% more talk. But that's not what we're talking about. So the extent that you're giving the child in the preschool program rich connections among words, telling stories, building networks of meaning, that's the experience that is going to help them build a foundation in language.
Thank you.
Yes, Jeannie over here, Mike.
Thank you. So I was listening to Ann first talking about child-directed language, and I was thinking about the math piece, thinking, well, if part of the child-directed language is language about math, and if early math is a good predictor for both math and language proficiency, I mean, we could be getting a great twofer. I think, and I'm just going to say this because I heard it from Linda, the little boy who was with the cards had been playing a lot of card games with his family, which was child-directed language. So I guess I'm thinking, can the two of you comment on how you connect your two worlds?
As you can tell by the way he's talking, he's using words like the plus sign, he's, count by. So obviously, he's had these conversations where, and probably for a long time, this particular young man had, I believe, older brothers. And so probably for a long time, as long as he was not too disruptive to their play, they were talking to him about math. I mean, they were using math talk. And I think a lot of the classrooms now at pre-K and the grades above are using math talk in the classroom. So these children learn the vocabulary. This is also part of the new Common Core with mathematical practices. It's very, very important. So I agree. I think that it is a twofer that you use these vocabulary words with young children, and we do it all the time. We're saying, show me your eyes. How many eyes do you have? How many ears do you have? So there's many opportunities even at a young age to hear that type of vocabulary.
Yeah, I didn't give you numbers on this, but you remember that graph where I showed the big differences in the amount of speech that children heard in these disadvantaged families learning Spanish. The child that heard the most speech in that group heard 12,000 words in 10 hours. That's a lot. The one who heard the least amount heard 600 words in 10 hours. That's 60 words a minute, and I've used 60 words in the last 20 seconds. When you are using more words, you are often doing things like and 1 and 2 and 3 as you climb up the stairs, and all these little things that are building not just math capacity, but another big ticket item these days, according to Jim Heckman and others, is executive function, is self-regulation, working memory, impulse control. You build these through language. You build these through storytelling. The kid who's hearing so little language is hearing isolated words, each standing alone on an island, no connections among them. The child who's hearing more is hearing, that's one little bunny and 2 little bunnies and 3 little bunnies, and now they're going to have a party, and bunnies like carrots, and all of these associates that turn out to make the brain faster in accessing the word bunny. So math it's a threefer at the very least.
Yes, question back here.
Two of you, maybe even with including Ann, could talk a little bit there about what you talked about research and what's available about teacher preparation. What are the implications for teacher preparation across what your pre-K through?
I'm afraid to turn this. Is it on? Yes, okay.
It was mine, I think.
Oh, it was yours. Oh, okay. Makes life more exciting. Teacher preparation. Well, as probably many, if not all of you in this room know, the preparation for preschool teachers is highly variable in California, San Mateo County, and across the U.S. And so there are no requirements for early mathematics. There's no requirements for oral language, and there's no requirements for early literacy. It does occur in the curriculum, and it does occur in child development classes, but there's no requirement. There's no state requirement for licensing. There's nothing like that that really exists. If I had my druthers, and I'm realizing I'm on film, if I had my druthers, I think that all three of those, expertise in all three of those areas should be required. No, okay.
Hi, I'm just wondering if you could speak to the availability of tools for assessing early math ability. That's what we struggle with in our district, is providing appropriate interventions for students in K through 3, because we don't really have great tools for finding out where they need the intervention.
You're right, that is an issue. It's an issue in research as well. So when there's very large research projects and you're trying to assess, 4,000 children, and you need something that takes 20 minutes and you want to be able to, to understand where children are in mathematics. Or if you're a kindergarten teacher, you have 24 children in your class and you want to know where they are, it's a little tough if it's a 45-minute assessment. So there are wonderful research tools. There's one called the Test of Early Mathematics Ability, but it takes 40 minutes, but it's an amazing tool. There's also assessments that are created by the Silicon Valley Math Initiative, and I think that they're working on those now. Kim Bambow, where did she go? Oh, there she is. I can probably provide more information on that. But you're right, this is an issue to try to be able to assess these children, in particular in a formative assessment way. So, summative assessment at the end of the year is just too dang late. We need to know throughout the year. So I think that those are, that probably the Silicon Valley Math Initiative assessments at this point in time are the more easily available and quicker assessments.
Hello, can you hear me? Good morning, Dr. Fernald. I just want to let you know that I'm over here. I want to let you know I was doing some research on my own. I stumbled across your article, and I actually forwarded to our director of child development in my school district. So my question to you is, I'd like to hear your ideas or your ideas or thoughts about. So there's that saying, parents are the child's first teacher. So what are your thoughts and ideas about getting to the parents prior to their child entering pre-K? So I'd like to hear so that you can close all those gaps. And so if you have any thoughts. Yes, thank you.
Yes. Okay. That's an excellent question. I mean, the whole question of implying that parenting behavior is somehow responsible for children's school success has a long and toxic history in the field of education, with deficit models and all of these things. But as Arnie Duncan implied in his recent address, getting parents involved, given that brain development is not waiting till 5 to start, is really important, so that you guys aren't bearing the whole brunt of that responsibility. But to address your question more directly, that's something we've been thinking a lot about, and in particular in our work with Latina families, where the entire staff and team there is Spanish-speaking, Mexican-born, so they're not Stanford students who've had 4 years of fancy Spanish. No way. They really are people from that that community. And at Grail, the intervention that we're designed called Habla Conmigo, Come Talk With Me, we discovered in a focus group that if you say to a mother who has not been to school herself past the second grade, you're the child's first teacher, that's not empowering. That's actually daunting and slightly threatening. It's like saying, oh, be your own neurosurgeon, right? Take this nail file and fix that ear, right? You'd say, no, there are specialists for that. And so we've been thinking a lot about how to convey that message as as something that you can do. They all have dreams for their children that are they say, we've come here to help our children, enable our children to have more opportunities than we have. And giving them the skills to do that without putting a burden on them to feel like they're supposed to, replace the teacher, but to frame it differently is so important. But many of these moms really feel just, I don't know what those skills are, and then they're going to deliver the child at the age of 5 to the school system and hope that he'll be a neurosurgeon by the age of 18. Doesn't work that way. So I don't know if I answered that, but there are cultural frameworks that we very much have to take into account and respect in framing that.
One more quick question, yes.
I don't need a microphone. I like you. So the one question I had, we are a preschool through 5 curriculum, so we are trying to do as much as we can with preschool rich math and reading and balanced curriculum with our children. The hardest thing it seems to be like is kind of going back to that parent coaching, aligning with our teachers' curriculum training, is there's not a really rich support of material for good quality curriculum to offer to preschool students. So yes, you can build hands-on math and do all those things kind of all the time, but the advantage I see in our K-5 is we can buy into at least a start curriculum or a really rich curriculum that we can branch off of. Are there groups that are looking to, on this peninsula or anything, to look at richer preschool material? Because looking at a math curriculum is like ridiculous if you wanted to try to find something that was not pretty
Yeah, there's always been a tension between things like scripted curriculum, where you tell teachers everything to say, and then they're going to pull it off, and they've got fidelity to the curriculum, versus empowering teachers and giving them information where they can just take off on their own and take advantage of moment-to-moment opportunities to support mathematics. And in real life, it's really somewhere in between there. The third study that I mentioned, Deborah Stipik and Megan Franke, the work that they're doing in San Mateo County, also in Southern California, I think addresses kind of that middle road. So one of the activities that you saw up there, that picture, was counting objects. So it's counting collections, I think they call it. And they just have this amazing array of counting collections. And you would think, counting collections, really? Where does that get you? You count 10 little puff balls and woohoo. But they have this amazing way of providing increasingly difficult collections. I don't know how else to say this. So for instance, if you had a bag and it had boxes of pencils and they had 12 pencils in there, and then there was, let's say, 3 extra pencils, but you weren't allowed to open the boxes, how would you figure out how many pencils there were all together? So you've got this 12, are you going to use multiplication? What are you going to use? And one of the special things about that project is that they ask the children to explain their thinking. How did you solve this problem? What did you do? And then the children make drawings. And then they ask them, well, can you do it a different way? And so the students not only begin to be able to use math talk to express what they're doing, they use drawings, but they're also required to think problem solving. So they have to try and think of another way. So that's one of the it's not really a curriculum, but that's one of the projects that's out there. And it is in this county, so that'd be one way. There's building blocks, pre-K mathematics, and another one by Herb Ginsberg, Big Math for Little Kids. All 3 of those are really they're really effective with young children, and I really like all of them. They involve activities with children. So
I knew once we'd get started, it'd be hard to stop. We do have to stop. So please help me thank Anne Fernald and Linda Platas. Thank you.